In 2007 and 2008, the North Kohala community went through a community planning process which resulted in the Community Development Plan, or the CDP. In the North Kohala CDP, the community stated that the North Kohala community will produce 50% of the food it consumes. In August 2009, a group of North Kohala residents came together to convene the North Kohala Food Forum to help the community meet that goal.
Well, I think basically the goal of the community, 50% of the food we consume coming from North Kohala, is like a rallying point for trying to understand what are we eating here and why don't we have 50% local food.
Food growers and food buyers were brought together at the Food Forum, as well as a network of supporting players, representatives from government, education, planning, and food infrastructure projects. Altogether, more than 200 people from the community attended the forum.
This is very important, and I'm so excited because this is the very first type of forum that I have witnessed in the Big Island, that you guys are really, as what somebody made mention, that you are ahead.
The Polynesians, including the Hawaiians, have lived for centuries and millennia sustainably and without any imports of food or materials, and there are still examples in the Pacific where you can go and find people who are living essentially as they have done for hundreds of years.
I personally love fruit a lot, but the reality is to build a sustainable society, you need fuel. Fuel is starch.
The truth is there are issues with buying locally, consistency of availability.
Prior to the actual Food Forum day, the North Kohala Food Forum Committee conducted a community food survey. All of this information was shared at the Food Forum and is available at www.nkfoodforum.com. The food survey helped the community understand what the barriers and opportunities are.
We'll also see in a moment, when Bob presents, there are other issues, barriers, opportunities related to commercial food producers that don't just have to do with selling food, but that also have to do with the infrastructure, the labor and the infrastructure and the inputs and those kinds of things. What we're trying to do again this morning, as Bob said, is we're defining the gap. So, the gap is we know we're not providing enough of our food locally.
Those of you who are growers or who would want to be, this is your opportunity discussion.
And a seed bank that would be based here in Kohala but would sell seeds worldwide. I have about 50 varieties right now. I've been selling them for several years. I was selling them on Maui.
I have 5 acres of mangoes and I hope to do that. I dispense information at the farmer's market, and whatever is in season. If you have ulu to share and you love ulu chips, let me know.
We're really looking at, being a way of exposing students to all these different opportunities so that they can really take it and run with it.
I guess one of my bigger crops has been pumpkins and trees.
Aloha, my name is Kaulukukui. I work for the Kohala Center. My project there is our Food Self-Reliance project, which is funded 100% by Ulupono. So on behalf of myself and all the people I owe money to, thank you very much. Our overall goal of the project is to increase the degree to which this island is food self-reliant.
Let's just put it this way. We got such a small amount of local food going into our stomachs that it gets lost in rounding.
I heard from a lot of folks that, oh yes, I grow this, this, and this, but when it came down to receiving it, oh well, no, I don't have it.
And there's a huge disconnect, right? I mean, if you wouldn't go to school to study something for 5 years that the market doesn't pay for anymore.
So I just hope that as an opportunity today, please growers, look at my produce list and bring me what you've got.
We always look at waste as a resource on our farm because we're a permaculture farm and a permaculture homestead, really, and we sell surplus.
We operate Lone Palm Sprout Farm. We've been doing that for 30 years.
We are interested in learning what types of infrastructure projects are needed to make that catalytic change, specifically in sustainable agricultural practices, but also renewable energy and waste reduction.
Begin farming with farm loans, operating loans, and we also help them buy farmland.
I'm hopeful that their focus will be infrastructure because that's obviously the catalyst that needs to get a lot of these projects going.
I'm Kathy Pomeroy, and I spoke with Shirley Shook about a way to get a nice local food product into the classroom.
I was asking Lester if his agency would provide funds for wannabe farmers to lease land versus buy land.
Our operating loans, which is basically your operating expense, that is how we help you lease lands.
This information that's been gathered through all this interviews and surveys will go a long way in terms of helping the ag park develop and becoming more of a community-based entity.
Well, everything's got to be, one thing is it has to be legally inspected, or somebody has to be liable for that product, whoever it is. Even though the consistency is there, it still has to be, you know, if something goes wrong with that product, who's going to be responsible for it?
And definitely for me, some of the resourcing that I've heard, some of the people that you have brought in, I wasn't aware of, and so pretty excited about that, actually.
Well, I'm excited too, because this really shows us up as a learning circle. It's not that we have all the answers yet. I think here in the community there's some landholders and some interest in expanding ag activities, and there could be some lands available that would help to make that happen.
I had a great conversation with Jack Hoyt about the possibilities of organic agriculture on the Vipassana retreat and irrigation to that.
We established an Energy and Food Sustainability Committee, which tries to direct efforts and focus practical solutions on that at Council.
The conclusion, 2 to 4% of everything we have and we putting in our mouths comes from locally grown food.
One of the highlights of the day was lunch. All of the ingredients for lunch were grown in North Kohala and prepared by North Kohala chefs.
Poisson crew, I don't know what that means, but it looks like fish and coconut milk and lime. Anyway, check this out. And so this is all local food, prepared by all local people.
The Food Forum Steering Committee did not want to impose solutions or a plan on the community, but rather wanted to facilitate the conversation in a way that allowed synergies and partnerships to emerge.
So this morning was all about defining the gap, and this afternoon is all about the solutions.
The day ended with community members proposing and owning 13 different initiatives, including exploring starting an agricultural co-op, having a locally grown day at our local restaurants, a school garden group, and a team looking into the legalities of land leasing for farmers. As the North Kohala Food Forum Steering Committee, we didn't want to define or predefine any outcomes. What we wanted to do was bring together the community in a large community conversation and then see what kinds of synergies, partnerships, and collaborations would emerge. And indeed, that's just what happened. We brought together food producers, we brought together retailers, commercial and institutional buyers, people who are involved in infrastructure, planning, government, education for this community conversation. And what came out of it were a number of really great outcomes. A group is going to investigate the feasibility of a co-op, a food co-op, for joint marketing, distribution, purchasing. We have a group working on the school gardens and getting school gardens going at 2 of our schools here locally. We have a group that came together around having an Eat Local Day at our local restaurants, and we had a group come together around land issues and around defining, contractually defining how we can get farmers onto leased land and what that looks like. And we had many more objectives come up as well. So I think that it was a really successful day, and I really look forward to tracking the progress of this over time. Learn more and join the conversation at nkfoodforum.com.